Aaron, what did yesterday feel like for you all being able to come through, get that big punch that you landed in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and make the plays down the stretch that you needed to?
Yeah, felt good. Just a really good response to, the run they made, I think, in that third quarter. And then, closing that game out was, just good for us. Obviously a couple other games where, we had a lead and we didn't close them the way we, did last night. So, just did a good job, sticking true to the way we've been all season and, being able to close that game out was good for us.
They really, try to stay consistent and disciplined with their zone defense, but you and Case and AC were able to get some big looks. Can you explain a little bit of how you all were able to toy with, those guys out top to get the looks that you needed to get?
Man, just trying to be playmakers, going out there, and, being aggressive to, break the defense a little bit, finding shots, that we're comfortable shooting, and just playing confident. Just did a good job sticking to, and trusting each other. And, shots began to fall in that second half and that, kind of turned the game around for us.
What you guys learn from game three just to be handling your clutch time and being in those sort of situations?
Yeah. Obviously everybody knows how important every possession is. But there are a couple small things that we just had to and have to continue to tighten up on, especially on the defensive end. We've got to be better with a couple small things. But these are learning processes for us, and game three was, big for us, especially going into overtime, offensively not being able to score, kind of drifting away from our defensive identity. So kind of tapping back into that and being who we are, helped us in game four.
A lot's been made of that the Thunders obviously led the league at point differential and played in the least amount of close games. Is there anything that you noticed differently about playing in these type of close games in the playoffs that maybe you didn't see in the regular season?
I wouldn't say there's anything, different other than like, being in those situations. But with the core and the group that we have, we've seen those situations before in prior, games and years leading up to, today, obviously. So it's not anything that we're like, completely unfamiliar with. We just had a good season where we didn't necessarily have to face those situations often, but we've got guys who are built for it, guys who understand what it takes to, pull out wins in those situations. So just got to make sure we, trust each other and stick to, who we've been.
Well, the things you're saying on the bench, you're watching that you exploit. So you, what about when you come in, you're looking for that shot, you're knocking it out quick. Are you seeing things on the bench that, hey, there's an over here or there?
There's definitely notes that you can take watching from, the units before. The bench kind of goes in, whether that's offensively looking for your shot or defensively seeing different, things that could help the team. So, yeah, I think everybody when they sub in, they kind of have something that they might have recognized or we might have talked about on the bench with each other, just to kind of, translate to when we do sub into the game.
Aaron, you guys were in a similar situation. Was this a year ago, having won game four on the road at Dallas, coming home for game five with the series tied? Anything you look back on from last year to kind of learn from that series?
Obviously, there were things that we all as a team looked at, in the playoffs last year. But situationally, different series, completely different series, different team. Everything about it is, unique in its own way. So there's things that, the baseline things that translate to every basketball game. But just completely different, concept of everything this year.
Aaron, do you believe in momentum?
100%.
So do you guys have it again in this series, you feel like?
I don't think we necessarily ever lost momentum. Obviously, losing that first game, home court advantage. But in terms of, the confidence and, our understanding of, how good we can be as a team, finding, just tapping back into who we are. That's where our momentum kind of stems from. So, momentum's huge, and having home court advantage is huge also. So I guess that adds it.
You guys obviously don't just get back home court advantage, but you have a comeback. Read it. does it feel like even more? I mean, I know you got to go out there and you got to capitalize on that in game 5, but the way you guys recaptured, does it feel any more sort of buoyant or hopeful after the way you guys won 4?
Obviously it's a different challenge. It's a task in front of you. You get behind in the series and you tie it up. We obviously have to, finish out the series and finish the job, but it definitely is a learning process and something that, as we continue to move forward, we can look at to, better ourselves going forward and, as the series closes.
What does momentum feel like for those us who've never played in the NBA postseason? What does that feel like to you? You know you have it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a ultimate just energy and confidence that just flows within, I think, just naturally within the team. And even outside of the team, I think fans can kind of feel momentum, obviously, in spurts of moments on runs and games. But as players, it's just a confidence and a comfortability, being in the present time and playing, in the situation that you're in.
Does your fan base, when you know that they feel it, is that something that you can feed upon as well?
100%. I mean, the fan base has, all the kind of power in the world in terms of making an opposing team feel a certain way, and then obviously making a home team feel a certain way. And that's why, home court advantage is home court advantage. So the fans make a big difference.
And you had 6 rebounds yesterday. Chet has had 40 rebounds over the last 3 games. I know that's her forcing a lot of missed shots.
Yeah.
But is there something that you're feeling, or is there a directive in terms of how to gang rebound, how to crash? It seems like a lot of stuff you're getting is through the elbows also.
I think just the understanding that every possession matters. So when shots go up, if you can get extra possessions on offense, and if you make sure you secure, rebounds on the defensive end, those possessions matter. They lead to points and they lead to just more shots for each team. So just the understanding as a team that, these rebounding is leading to possessions, which can lead to points, and every possession matters, every point matters. Just, that much bigger of a factor.
Does it feel like
I'll make it simple, but you've heard the phrase make or miss leads. I was looking at your numbers, the team numbers. You're shooting about 3 and just regular field goal down to like 5 points from both areas. Even though you kind of had control of these games, they've always been close in the fourth quarter. So I guess I'm saying if you hit a few more shots or feel like you may have a better control, it's not as close or whatever. Is that makes sense? Is it?
when I say make or miss leagues, that's what's going on. I don't want to take it away from Denver, but
Yeah.
those numbers.
Obviously, you make shots, you're going to have more control of a game the more you make. And when you miss, there's opportunity for the other team to make shots. So obviously make and miss is a big factor, but there's so much that goes into it, especially in the playoffs, in terms of the pace and the control and the execution that kind of leads to the difficulty of shots that you might be getting, which could affect the makes and the misses. Our priority is just making sure that we're executing our plays to get good looks, which will lead to more makes. So we got to, just key in on that and make sure we're doing a good job.
Your rotations have been very different from kind of game to game, series to series. What's that been like for you? And does it even phase you at this point, given, your lineups this season?
Yeah, it doesn't phase me. Just kind of trying to make sure that I'm ready whenever I hear my name get called to make a play or to go into the game. So I think as a team, everybody's just kind of keyed in on winning. So nobody's thinking about the rotation. Nobody's thinking about, the minutes or their points. I think everybody's kind of just keyed in on when it's my time, how do I go in and how do I make the best of my minutes to help the team win? And that's the group that we have, just guys who want to win.
Mark, what'd you make of just that second unit begin the fourth quarter and the way they were able to move the zone in the ways that they needed to be able to get the clean looks that they got?
Yeah, we took a look at a different attack of the zone that was pretty effective. I thought we got decent shots in the first half, but we just decided to change it up a little bit. And the guys did a really good job of just kind of moving the ball, finding the gaps in the zone and then shooting with confidence. Those guys stepped into those shots weren't much different from the ones we got earlier in the game that we missed. But they just kept shooting it. You got to have shooting resilience in the playoffs. It's hard to get clean looks. And the games aren't easy for a number of reasons. And you got to keep stepping into those shots. And to the credit of Wiggins and Kaysen in that stretch, they did that.
Specifically with Kaysen, what have you seen from him throughout this series, and particularly his defense on a guy like Murray?
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good, especially last game. He was really in Murray's pocket. He's got great speed and strength, and he's got the type of mindset, that matches that, similar to Dort, not quite as strong, probably a little faster in terms of his twitchiness, but they both have unbelievable will to just stick to their man, which is what you got to have against a team that is going to go to that action as much as they do. I mean, they run Murray pick and rolls more than they do anything, including post ups, everything else. So those guys, have taken a huge load defensively and have done a great job.
You mentioned shooting. I looked at your numbers. Your 3-point and your regular field goal down like about 5% compared to your season. I mean, I guess to simplify, if you shot better, you think that might help you close on the game better, or maybe you got a bigger lead going to full quarter. Things that changes things. You just get more shots.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. The first one is you look at the quality. The quality in the series has been very good, especially from three. And so that's where I talk about shooting resilience. Like, we have to continue to step into those shots and shoot them with confidence, because if you get a pretty good shot, above our threshold on a possession and you don't shoot it, the chances of you getting something better on that same possession are very low. And the guys have done a good job of that. We're teeing up those shots in the way that we would hope to. And then the other way to look at that is, so I say that to say I would expect it to regress to the mean if we continue to get good looks. The other way to look at it is, I think we've done a really good job in this series of being very competitive on a lot of poor shooting nights, where we shoot below expectation. And we've done that by manufacturing the game. It starts with defense, but then rebounding, offensive rebounding specifically, getting out in transition. We've won that battle so far through 4 games. And trying to get to the rim. The rim was kind of shut off for both teams last game, but we outscored them at the rim last game. So we have to continue to control what we can control with that, control what we can control with the quality of the shots, and just keep stepping into them with confidence.
Mark, you come back with home court advantage restored, but you also seem to have gotten momentum as well. Do you believe momentum is a thing that, and if it is, do you think you guys have it now?
I'm not a big momentum in the series type guy. It's like every game is a new game, and the teams have alternated wins to this point, so that would be evidence against, carryover from game to game. I think every game's its own entity. Ball's going to go up in the air tomorrow night. Better team's going to win tomorrow, and however you get yourself there to be the better team, that's our challenge. But we can't rely on anything from the past. Tomorrow, we have to be fully present and just play our best game in game 5. That's what it all comes down to.
Do you feel like your guys took away anything on the mental, emotional side from the way yesterday broke, the comeback, the finishing, all of that? You feel like you took anything in that regard from that?
Big picture, I said this after the game, and I believe this. I think we're a better team than we were at the beginning of the series. Not even just for this series, but just in general. I think we are continuing to learn, and we're continuing to grow through all these experiences we're getting. It's only been a week since the series started, but these games are rich with lessons and rich with experiences. And every time, you take a punch and you stand back up, you build more confidence, you build more mental toughness, you build more mettle. And every time you fall short, you can access more wisdom if you look at it like that. And this team's done an unbelievable job of doing both. And we're better now because of it. So we want to win game 5, and we're all in on and focused on game 5. But big picture, these have been great experiences for us, whether we come out on top or not. And I honestly believe we're a better team now because of the the first 4 games of the series.
Mark, with in-game adjustments, rotations, you often talk about how you let the game sort of dictate what you need to do and some of the decisions you need to make. How did that play out kind of last night with the different rotations, particularly in the third and fourth quarters?
I mean, I'm never random. You know, it's never like, you know, I wonder what we should do now. It's always like frameworks that we work through during the season. First of all, I mean, we have a pretty good understanding of frameworks of lineups, frameworks of rotations, different levers we can pull at different times for different reasons. We try to really develop a very broad understanding of that in the season, so that when we get to this point, we kind of know what we have. We're not just like throwing stuff against the wall in the highest stakes games. Every game we've kind of done something different. I mean, the Jay Will game 2 sub was I wasn't even expecting to use him in the first quarter, but Hartenstein got his first. I wanted to close the first with Hartenstein. I didn't want him to get his second foul. Decided to go to Jay Will. That was obviously something on the menu, but wasn't something specific. And same with yesterday, you know. You kind of have an idea of what your menu options are, what each of them brings to the table, and then you got to kind of dance with the game. But we do that all season, you know, like that's part of why we do it all year, so that if we're doing that in the third and fourth quarter of, you know, game 4, the guys are not like thrown off by that.
You guys are essentially in the same position as you were last year in the second round, getting a win in game 4 on the road, coming back home for game 5, tied 2-2. You draw anything from that, or like bring that up with the guys at all?
Definitely don't bring it up with them just because it's a new team. It's a new opponent. You know, like our team's a lot different than we were a year ago, mainly because the growth of the guys that are back. Some of that growth comes from those experiences. Those experiences were informative last year in the playoffs. We had the same thing I just said to Jenny. We had experiences that built our confidence and made us stronger in that way. We had experiences that made us wiser, made us stronger in that way, and we carried that into this season. But the lessons and the things that we have to use going into game 5 are more relevant from this year's team and the experiences these guys have had together, and more specifically the experiences we've had in this series, because this is our team now and this is our opponent now.
How do you like the tackles in the zone? Look like they were pushing out a little bit further than teams that you face in the regular season, at least. I mean, really pressing out with the guards up front.
Yeah, I thought, you know, in the fourth quarter we loosened that a little bit by getting guys behind them. And that created a little more of a threat. Hart got the lob early in the fourth on that play. And even later after that, like we just kind of offset them in a different way because of what you're saying. You know, Jokic is really high in it when there's no one that he has to account for behind him. So we made that adjustment in the game. The guys did a great job of executing it. Again, it's nothing that we haven't done before. You know, all the stuff that we're pulling right now is stuff that we've developed over time. And, you know, you try certain things. I thought, like I said, our attacks in the first half especially were pretty good. We missed a lot of good looks. And there's 2 options when that's happening. You can kind of keep doing the same thing and double down on the same looks, or you can try to shift the board a little bit. And that's what we decided to do, and it was helpful.
Anybody else? There's been a pretty drastic split between your home and road 3-point splits in the postseason. I know small sample, but I think you're 10 points better at home than on the road. Is there any other explanation other than it's hard and uncomfortable to play on the road?
I mean, anything like that, you know, that's even larger sample, that's that complex, I try not to try to explain it. You know, like I just try to accept it. I'm not sure how much that would change anything. You know, even if that were true, I'm not sure that would have changed our approach on the road or at home. So, I mean, it's information, it's a data point, but it's so interconnected, complex. It's just hard to take anything from that that's tangible or that I would do with the team.